Good morning, dear beloved community. Merry Christmas. I also want to share that I invite honor and respect however you observe this day, this holiday, this opportunity to be present and reflect, to give and to receive. I am videoing in from Overton Park in Memphis, Tennessee. Last night I was going to make it a travel night. It was very windy and the van wasn't very stable. So I was hoping to travel to somewhere more still. And the plan was to enter into Mississippi, but I was finding some reservation around that, and also being so close to what for me is home in Louisiana, almost wanting to redirect, kind of go to what I know, towards what feels good. And I will go there. I will go there very soon. But traveling with the eye of the Dhamma and this gift of deep looking and transformation and healing, doing the work that needs to be done, the work that the great aspiration is about, the work of unbinding the ties that bind us. Greed, hatred, and delusion really is all that needs to be said, right? I mean, that's at the root of all things. And traveling with the eye of the Dhamma, constantly reflecting that within the self that needs to be broken down, the greed, the hatred, and the delusion that is still there and present within me. But the main thing on this journey is seeing, hearing. When you can see with the eye of the Dhamma, you can see all of its parts and all of its things without being carried away by the suffering. And as I received the many gifts and the fruits and the Sangha and the community of traveling through the great state of Tennessee, it's been very profound. And I'm very grateful, particularly to the Sanghas that reached out to me and invited me to come and share about this journey. There was something deep in those sharings, and there was a lot that was unsaid, but there was a lot that was also shared, and a lot of work that had been done, and a lot of work that still needs to be done. Turning into that which is there when it's hard to look at, when it's hard to see, is part of this great work if we have the capacity to turn there, to go into the bowels and the depths of our suffering, because in that is the great joy, the great ability to be truly present, to truly lay down the notion of a self, the notion of our ideas, and the notions of our views and our attachments. To understand the self is a journey that requires one to have a great capacity to see and to listen and to be patient, to have the endurance of Kanti, patient endurance, a tolerance to go deep and to look into these particular things. As I'm driving through our country, in a lot of our communities that are sometimes overlooked, I'm not even going to say that it's overlooked because it's normalized. It's become so normal that it's not even overlooked. It's just the way that our society, our structures, our own greed, hatred, and delusion has allowed it to become. And that's where we can do the work. You know, we can't make those huge changes other than by being peace in oneself and peace in the world. So Today being Christmas Day, and I'm an early riser, so I'm in downtown Memphis, and there's so many people on the streets early morning at 5 a.m. and just doing their daily thing. And there's a lot of us at home waking up to our tree and opening our gifts, and however we honor or celebrate this holiday. But we're all here. We're all here. Well, this hesitance that I was feeling, I wasn't sure if I was ready after traveling through Tennessee to go into Mississippi. And then a great joy and a great gratitude that I'm able to travel through the Deep South without a green book, without being welcomed by night riders. And at that time, what the media was calling hoodlums or ambushes by law enforcement or citizens of the community. But I'm able to travel into the bowels of our country, into the depths of our country, where a lot of our current day sufferings are rooted in political and hatred violence that's still present, still amongst us. And then I turn inward to uproot those same bonds that tie, to understand them, to destruct them, to be free of them, to be liberated of them, to have a great peace, especially as I walk into certain communities, all faiths, all ethnics, all, it's just there. There's just a being and a presence, that essence of the ever-present connection and love, vibration, light, Buddha nature, whatever you want to call it. When we can really work on meeting the people where they are and bringing that true core presence, there's something really lovely about that. Today I'm at the park and I go for an early morning walk to take Upeka out for her daily walk of watching birds and squirrels. And I come into a park, there's one car there, car culture, somebody's definitely living in their car. Car culture is a thing. Open our eyes to that. Human trafficking, sex trafficking is a thing. We can open our eyes to that. Drug addiction, mental health. Beautiful, lovely park downtown. It's a children's playground. And I come upon a gentleman who's yelling at someone in the restroom, violently using obscene language. And I really quick unfilter and remove all of my views, attachments, my ideas, perceptions, defilements, mental formations about what I'm seeing, but with the full discernment. So there's not any ignorance or just kind of saying, oh, I see the light in everybody, but it's a work of doing my own work so that the light can shine, so that it can come forth, that it can be present, because there is a light, a Buddha nature within each and every single one of us. And I'm walking up to this situation to throw out my daily trash. And I said, Merry Christmas. And this person calmed down and said, Merry Christmas right back, and laughed at my cat as we go on our walk. And she climbs down the slide and climbs up the stairs and slides down the slide. And we laugh, and he's watching me as we're playing in the park. And every few minutes he'd kind of go back over to the bathroom and yell out these obscenities, and there's a car waiting in the parking lot. So, you know, it appears that there might be some type of either drug interaction or human trafficking situation. So just a discernment of my awareness and my surroundings and my judgments and my views and the fear that can arise, or the idea that this is a defiled place, or maybe I shouldn't be here, or just how do I meet people where they are and be present, um, and be the embodiment of what we all wish to return in our communities, in our nation, in our country, in our state. Um, and as I leave to go and get in the van, and I call the cat into the van, he says, "Are you out?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm out." And he said, "May you and your cat have a blessed Merry Christmas." And I said, "Same to you. May you and all of those that you come across and that you meet have a wonderful day, and the rest of our days as well." And I get in the car and I back up, and as we do in community, I give that hunk on the way out, bump, bump, and he's sitting on the bench. And he looks up with this bright smile of love. And he goes and blows me a kiss. And I blow him one right back. And that's the moment where we can meet people where they are. Where I felt that that being was also able to lay down all of his conditions, maybe his views and ideas and attachments, or his craving and his burning fire of being desperate in passion to satisfy a need because of our conditions. And he was able to shine his light and share his Buddha nature for that moment. What a beautiful thing that is. What a beautiful thing. And I can only hope and wish that he turns around and gives that right back, or sees something, or has more expansion in his heart to also want to break the ties that bind, because I want that for self and for others as well. So today I'm going to continue to embark into Mississippi, and I'm full of gratitude for those that have come before, all of my teachers, definitely all of my teachers who have done this work of the Dhamma, of this deep looking, of this uprooting and this transformation and this healing. Transformation and healing is the biggest gift that we can give ourselves. Deep looking into that so that we can transform and heal the suffering. And I'm thinking of the freedom riders who have made this route from Memphis into Mississippi, getting on the Greyhound, and those that were awaiting for the arrival of the freedom riders. And they said, if you go into Mississippi, you have to be ready to be beaten, imprisoned, or met with death. And you were only allowed to be a volunteer on this bus ride into Mississippi if you were ready to receive those three things. And if not, they invited you to stay home and support the cause from home. So this pilgrimage, this journey of deep looking and practice of forgetting the self and understanding the self, which I feel that we know in our nation, we know in our country that we have yet to do that, to understand the roots that divide us. And certainly in Buddhism, we have yet to do that. We have yet to pay our reparations, to see all things. It's like a turning away, or we use this idea of the self of we're laying that down, to turn away from that because we're into the cessation of suffering, right? But we fail to understand what is there, to see what is there, to come to the fullness of that measure for all beings, to do all of our work. So I've been to Mississippi before, and I've walked in dried up beds of the Mississippi River, and I've heard the cries of the ancestors, of all of our ancestors. I've heard the cries and the suffering of all of our ancestors. And I really want us to listen to that part, because that's the part that we all need to do, not just my ancestors, for all of our ancestors. We need to go on that journey. We need to go on that ride. We need to go on that pilgrimage. We need to embark on that voyage, whether voluntarily or involuntarily. And we need to have the Sangha and the community and the capacity and the teachers and the wisdom that will help us to do that deep looking and that transformation and that healing. So with all gratitude, today I will cross the state line and enter into Mississippi in a new way with the eye of the Dhamma, a freedom ride, a sort of liberation for self and for others. And I will visit many historical work that has been done in the civil rights movement. And as the Buddha sat under the tree, or when I took the pilgrimage in the footsteps of the Buddha, following the footsteps of the Buddha, walked in the Jetta Grove, doing walking meditation with the monastics of the Plum Village community. In the Jetta Grove, at Anapandika's Park, we had eating meditation. I'm going to do the same on this journey in our community, in our great state of Mississippi, and all of the resilience and the healing and the transformation that has been done. I will bow in deep gratitude, and the work that needs to be done with clear seeing and with the eye of the Dhamma, I will do that work within myself, for self and others. And now, just here sharing this, I'm looking forward to embarking on this journey, which was the later part of the freedom ride, right before the evacuation to New Orleans. So I think I'll go into Mississippi doing walking meditation. I'm going to enter into silence too. This is also a gift that I'm giving myself after this sharing. The next part of this journey into Mississippi, Alabama, and back into New Orleans is going to be one of deep looking and of silence. So I'm going to refrain from using social media for the next few months. I will be in contact to those close friends just so that they know that I'm safe and here. Yeah, but I'm taking this journey for a deeper liberation, a deeper freedom, for embarking deeper in my Dhamma practice. And I'm just really grateful. I'm grateful to the Buddha. I'm grateful to the teachings of the Buddha. And I'm grateful for all of those that have come before, including those that embarked into a journey, a pilgrimage that could have certainly brought them being beaten, imprisoned, or death, so that I could make this journey as a Black Buddhist queer nunk into Mississippi. And I'll continue to look, to untie to be the peace and the freedom and the light and the love and the connection for all of those that I meet, which requires a lot of work. So I'll continue to nourish, spend time in nature, but I'm also going to be doing some deep healing and some transformation and some deep looking. I'm grateful to have the capacity and the great gift of community and Sangha and your support. This is all done by the power of community and beloved Sangha, beyond Buddhist Sangha, the Mahasangha, the Sangha of our nation, the beloved community, honestly. I've received so much support, and I'm able to continue this path and this journey because of you. I'll just share real quick a little bit of the personal journey growing up pretty much on my own, leaving the house at 14, leaving my mom at 14 as she embarked into a new relationship, and put myself through high school and college and got a job and all of those types of things. Living in California, lots of required living in California, pretty much anywhere in our nation at this time, just to keep up. A lot is required of us to be successful, to come out of the conditions that we were born into, right? There's always this chasing, this samsaric circle that we can get on. So I was fortunate enough to travel with a good friend, musician, and the very first time that we went to New Orleans, Louisiana, and I put my foot on the tarmac, we come out of this little tiny plane onto the airport in New Orleans, and it was like, I'm home. I have arrived. I could hear the voices of that land, and I was home. I was home. And so later, much later, I returned to New Orleans, Louisiana after Katrina, and there was great building that needed to be done. And I was able to ride on the joy and the spirit of community of those in the lower Ninth Ward, on the West Bank, outside of the French Quarter. And at that time, the Saints were doing really well. And it doesn't matter if they are or not. Hudat is always going to uplift the community of New Orleans. And the second line parades and the music, the food, the culture, and the love of community that was there, and the joy in the eyes of, in the midst of great suffering and despair after a storm, was something powerful, was something beautiful. And who thought that I would have ended up living in Louisiana in the South? I also had the opportunity to travel to many other places in the state, into the bayou, and to meet all walks of life. And it was something for this LA girl to see, that we were still so divided. We were still very black and white as a country. And that's all of us. Please know that that is the construct that our society and our country has put us in. And then I ended up in North Carolina. What the heck? How do I end up in North Carolina? What is this? Why am I in the South? And today I know. Today I'm taking that freedom ride. And I'm doing the pilgrimage and the journey and the work that needs to be done for self and for all of us. Because again, I feel that that's something that we haven't done, we haven't looked at. We need to do this so that we can overcome and release these ties that bind and have a deeper eye of the Dhamma and a deeper understanding of how our attachment to views, our attachment to the self, has continued to keep that burning fire alive, and also that divide, that inability for us to meet these wonderful teachings that the Buddha, that Christ has given us, right? So they're there for us to see and to embark into compassion and loving kindness. But until we've done that great work, we can't come to the fullness of that measure. And I've done that on the meditation cushion. I've done that up into the mountain. I've done that. I've done that great work. I think many of us meditators who have come across that journey, especially as BIPOC practitioners, we have been there and we've taken that ride. So this is a sort of doing that. And I'll be traveling into Mississippi today, going into the Delta, Alabama, Birmingham, Jackson. And then I will make my way to New Orleans. And then hopefully Florida and Georgia. And we'll see. May the aspiration continue. May the journey continue. May the pilgrimage continue. Whatever embarks ahead of me, I am embracing with all true presence and meeting the people where they are along the way. Loving, being the love, being the peace, uprooting, tearing down, removing views and attachments within the self so that I can continue to be present for all, not just those that come to the Dhamma or come to our centers or come to our churches or our synagogues or our prayer circles or our yoga circles or our light sharings, but for even those in the park whom we might think are up to no good or unwholesome. Because it's very necessary. It's very necessary in this time in our country. Yeah. So that will be the gift that I give for self and others today that we observe as Christmas Day. This to everyone, every being, every community, regardless of this. That is the work. That is the work. So just gratitude to you and to those before, to those now, and to those after. Thank you for allowing me to share and to meet the people where they are, to continue on this freedom ride of liberation and deep looking and understanding. There's something about that. I love you and I love you all. May you be well and safe and happy. And may we continue on the journey of deep looking and transformation and healing. Let that be the gift to ourselves. I love you, Sister Claire Grace, the traveling nunc, bowing out. Be with me as I travel on this journey deeper into the bowels of our nation. SCG, bowing out.